Alright, so Netflix released a documentary called The Social Dilemma, which I had been hearing about everywhere, like on Dumb Money and from Russell Brand, as well as on the #1 podcast in the world, Impulsive. Obviously, I had to go watch it and found that it's basically an hour and a half of hyperbolic claims of why social media
is the end of humanity.
And I'm literally not exaggerating when I say that, quote straight from the movie, it is the checkmate on humanity. If you haven't seen the movie, here are a few clips to give you an idea of what it's about.
If technology creates mass chaos, loneliness, more polarization, more election hacking, more inability to focus on the real issues, we're toast.
This is checkmate on humanity.
Right, so why are we talking about this today? Well, because I don't think the documentary gave an accurate portrayal of social media and the technologies it's talking about. I think we need to add a little more context to what's talked about in the movie to get the most accurate and well-informed perspective. And answer the question, is this the end of humanity? What's going on, guys? JP here with another Biz Rich video. So let's break down Netflix's The Social Dilemma. There's a lot to get into with this movie, and I think the first place to start is to really define the social media and tech companies' motives, which is obviously money. But how do they make money? Well, they get attention and gain an audience, typically called users, and then they have other companies pay them to show ads to those users. Pretty simple concept that has been around long before social media. We've seen this model in newspapers dating back to 1704, radio since 1922, and in television starting in 1941. So why is everyone shitting on Facebook and Google for using the same basic model? Well, mainly what it comes down to is these companies being really good at what they do. In The Social Dilemma, they talk about these companies creating a predictive model or avatar of you that this guy in the documentary says can basically predict your actions. I think this is a slight stretch. Again, let me remind you, these companies' main goal is to be the most effective ad platform. So taking this a step down from predicting your actions, it's really about serving up the right ad to the right person at the right time. What was that? Why did I just do that? I would think that Google is pretty much the start of all this, and it's not all hocus pocus like the documentary makes it seem. In The Social Dilemma, an ex-Google employee talks about how a handful of 20 to 30-year-old white guys at Google type away a piece of code that affects 2 billion people. And while he's saying this, there's an image of a puppeteer to clearly illustrate that these tech companies have a level of control over us. But here's the thing, when we use Google, we're trying to accomplish something, and we're directly telling Google what we're trying to accomplish. Maybe it's finding a shoe store nearby, or maybe it's finding the best YouTube channel for everything business and money related. Clearly this one. But whatever it is, Google is going to have ads placed right at the top of that search results page that is directly related to the problem you are trying to solve. I think this concept is pretty widely accepted and makes sense to pretty much all of us. And circling back around to this predictive model that is referred to in the documentary, this is basically Google, Facebook, and other social media platforms' ability to collect data about you to get a better idea of who you are and your interest, all in the name of most effectively placing the right ad in front of the right person. And let's not single out these tech giants. This data collection for advertising purposes isn't a new practice, and there's a lot more players in the game that for some reason don't get the negative attention that poor old Google and Facebook get. Let me bring data management platforms into the picture. These are companies whose sole purpose is to capture, store, and organize data in a way that allows them and other companies to identify patterns and place you within the most accurate audience segments, which is basically just a group of people who share similar attributes and in turn is used by marketers to deliver ads targeted to certain people. And here's the thing, this data isn't just coming from data management platforms' ability to capture it. Companies actually sell this data directly to DMPs and directly to other businesses, as is the case with companies that have ad platforms. Well, technically speaking, Google and Facebook aren't actually selling your data, they're just charging companies to use it. So if anything, these companies are the saving grace that we've been looking for. But yeah, pretty much every company sells your data or is somehow involved in it by being part of an expansive data network. These companies range from everyone in Google's display network, 90% of the internet, to credit bureaus and even your bank. All this information goes into marketers being able to serve more targeted ads and to better define buyer personas, which is basically just a less individualized version of the avatar that these social media platforms create of you. It's an icon that represents the commonalities and traits of people that buy from a company or people they want to buy from their company. This idea of a buyer persona is nothing new, but now it can be supported better with data. The way I see it, the marketing practices and concepts that these social media platforms use is nothing really new, they're just way better at it. Though, one thing that this documentary hints at is these companies' ability to actually observe us while we use their app. And this, to a certain extent, is true. Apps and websites are constantly collecting data to see how and what you are engaging with. Companies constantly use things like Google Analytics to see how you actually interact with their websites. Where the social dilemma inaccurately portrays this is when they make it seem like these companies are looking through the lens of our cameras to observe how we feel about certain things they're showing us. And here's the thing, companies do have the ability to do this. Facebook actually filed a patent back in 2015 for a technology that allowed them to determine a user's emotional reaction to the different types of content they were showing them. But I couldn't find any evidence that Facebook is actually using our camera to determine facial expression recognition, besides a so-called glitch in 2019 that showed Facebook was accidentally turning on the camera when you clicked on a picture. But other than that, I couldn't really find any evidence that Facebook was using this technology. Also, similar techniques have been used in the past by other companies, such as eye trackers for websites and emotion or sentiment recognition software for things like TV shows. The difference here is that these were used on focus groups of people who clearly, knowingly consented to this. So yeah, I agree, if Facebook is actually using our camera to determine how we feel about certain content, yeah, that's pretty creepy. But you have to realize you're actively telling these companies, and Facebook in particular, exactly how you feel about the content you're seeing on your feed. So honestly, I think they found they don't even actually need this technology. Another potential issue that was brought up in the movie is how these social media and tech companies have certain strategies to increase usage. This is mainly referring to a personalized and optimized feed, as well as optimized push notifications. To this, I say, well, I definitely want a personalized feed showing me only the shit I care about. But yeah, you can lose the push notifications. Those get annoying. Luckily, your phone has the magical capability of actually turning off these notifications. But on a serious note, I think the real valid issue that the social dilemma brought up about these personalized feeds is its way of perpetuating division and these extremist views. Though I can't really say that these social media platforms are the ones to blame here, they're just serving up content that they have determined would resonate with you. Does this make Facebook the bad guy, or does this situation just reveal our flawed nature to be inherently biased and gravitate towards content that supports our own false realities? In psychology, there is something called the confirmation bias, which is someone's tendency to recall and favor information that supports their own beliefs. And this is just one from a wide range of cognitive biases. I can definitely see how coupling humans' biased nature with a new reality that only supports those biases could be potentially disastrous. But how should social media platforms combat this? I don't know, but if you have any suggestions, make sure to leave them in the comments below, and I'll make sure to pass them on to my man Zuck. And on to the last major point, which is how the social dilemma claims that social media is affecting body image and increasing depression. This, as well, is nothing new. And I'll be fair here, they do mention a dramatic uptick in adolescent depression around 2011 that they are associating with the increased prominence of social media. Honestly, I didn't really look into the specific study they were talking about, but as I've said before, we have seen similar links in increases of depression with the increased usage of television and computers. And I'm sure this has the potential to tie into the whole body image issue. This too has been observed in other studies where American or produced media was introduced into these small communities and had a negative impact on the locals' perception of beauty and their own body image. So yes, I do think social media can do the same, I just don't think we need to single it out here. And my goal isn't to discount everything that the documentary said, I just think it was over-dramatized and didn't really give an unbiased perspective. So here were some of the key points and thoughts I had on the movie. If you've seen the movie, what were your thoughts? And if you haven't seen the movie, well, all the cool kids are doing it. So, alright guys, if this video didn't absolutely suck, make sure to hit that thumbs up button. And make sure to subscribe and tap that notification bell so you don't miss the next video. Well, that is it. Thanks for watching. See you next time.